Well, with me right now is Janie Durrell. She is, of course, on the United Board, the first vice president. And I'd also like to welcome Brett Crane. And Brett, you are the inspection supervisor here for VMS. Welcome.
Thank you.
Janie, what we're talking about today is something that it's along the line of alterations, but when we're talking about this subject, hazardous material, asbestos and lead, we have older buildings here. This is something that goes beyond just maybe, well, you should have gotten a permit for that. This is something that really has a lot of ramifications about it to be done the right way, right?
Correct, and we want to let our members be aware, along with the contractors, that is required on certain type of alterations that you must have an inspection of the particular items as lead-based paint and asbestos in your units.
Brett, when should someone do this? Maybe they're planning on putting in a window or anything that might disturb the wall that's there, which could have layers and layers of paint that go way back, or they want to scrape the ceiling. When is the right time to first get this done?
You know, we recommend that any resident that is considering any type of alteration in their manor to come and speak with an inspector right away. We're very knowledgeable on what contains it, which has historically, you know, shown that it has positive results. And we don't want to have any issues within the community. And so, you know, we recommend that they do come and speak to an inspector.
Now, when an inspector would come out, would they perform some sort of a test to make sure that there is asbestos and or lead within the manor?
Our inspectors actually don't do the test itself.
Okay.
All that has to be done through a consultant. And anytime you're removing any type of asbestos or lead, it needs to be done by an abatement contractor.
Okay. And I've seen abatement contractors before on, you know, different home improvement shows, and it's quite involved, isn't it, Janie?
It really is. When you start thinking about a demolition and redoing your walls or floating your ceiling to cover up what they call cottage cheese, it really is necessary. And if you are removing a certain amount, a percentage of your drywall, then it is required that you have, you know, tested along with the abatement people being involved.
And Brett, this isn't just the regulations here. This is state regulations, and it could be, I think it might be federal regulations in some aspects,
That
right?
is correct. So you have Cal OSHA, which is our state regulation, and you have AQMD, which is Air Quality Management District. And they actually have their own sector in Southern Orange County or South County that focuses just on that. And they do represent both federal and OSHA is state.
And so the abatement contractor, if one is needed, would they be the ones, along with perhaps the general contractor, that comes out, removes the material that may have lead or asbestos in it? They would be the first ones there. They're certified to do this.
Correct. So an abatement contractor will be able to provide AQMD, Cal OSHA with the correct documentation that's required in order to remove that. So there's a certain time that needs to go by as a notification to make them aware that they're going to be doing the removal. There's a process when they're actually doing the removal, how it's put in bags and disposed of, and there's a chain of custody. So there is a lot of stuff that goes along with it, but that's their profession.
So Janie, someone who is thinking about making an alteration to their manor, we've talked about this before. You've got to first come in, talk to the right people, get a permit for it. It doesn't matter where it is, because you want to find out if this is an alteration, if it's a variance, is it a standard alteration, no matter if it involves lead or asbestos. You've got to do that first, right?
That's window 7, yes, that's correct. I wanted to add a little bit on, once you have the testing, during the testing period, samples are taken, sent to a lab. So it takes a few days to get the result back from the lab to the contractor that is called for that particular test.
So that way, if it finds out that there's no hazard there, then they don't need to get the abatement person out to remove this. They can
That's
go right.
Right. Just continue on with alteration.
Yeah. Obviously, one of the big issues here is disposal of this. And what you certainly don't want is somebody going in, a regular contractor, so to speak, versus abatement contractor, that does some sort of alteration, and this isn't done first, and then throws the material in the dumpster, which they shouldn't be doing anyway. They should have their own contracting dumpster, right?
Correct. And you know, it's very important for if any members or residents do see maybe something that has been removed out of a unit that has actually been thrown in a mutual dumpster, to notify security, notify resident services, and make us aware of that so we can go out and take a look at what we're working with.
Okay. Janie, should somebody come out, an inspector come out before the alteration, let's say the folks have come in, they've got the required paper, whatever needs to be done, is it always a good idea, and is it the practice, Brett, that your office does, where you will always inspect to see if there's a possibility of lead or asbestos in the manners, or do you look at how far back those manners go, as far as they were the original ones, were they built 10 years later? How do you determine that?
Basically, as we're not licensed consultants or a licensed abatement contractor, we can't determine that.
Okay.
So it's our responsibility to make sure and look out for our residents and members. So we look at it like everything is hot until we have actual samples taken that prove that they are not.
Some people think because the law was passed around 1975, that if the unit was built, let's say in 1976, that they don't have a hot unit. Well, the law provided that the manufacturing that did, let's say, manufacture certain products with asbestos, they were able to go ahead and sell that product until they ran out. So you may have units that may have been built after 1975 that still may have the asbestos within the unit.
Okay, what about the costs for the abatement contractor? Is that on the person who lives in the manor, the owner?
That's correct. So normally what happens is if a member's proposing to do an alteration, they're going to get a bid from their contractor.
Okay.
Sometimes their contractor will have that abatement cost worked into their estimate, or it could be something that would be within their contract, that it would be their responsibility to hire an abatement contractor, but the resident is still responsible for that removal.
Okay, do you have any estimate what it normally costs?
I paid around $350 for my test.
Okay.
The other thing that people don't realize when you get into lead-based paint isn't as prevalent, but if you are doing a bathroom remodel and you disturb the tile, what do you want to call it?
The mastic underneath?
No, it's actually the glaze on the tile is very high in lead.
Oh, wow, I didn't realize that.
Yes, yeah. So that's when you have to have the abatement people come in their little white suits and remove all of that.
So it's not just the paint, there's other things that can have that.
Right. It's like on your floor tile. The floor tile, original tile, does not have asbestos, but the glue does, and that's very toxic.
Okay. Now, how long was the process for you? About 3 days before you got the test results?
3 to 4 or 5 days, I don't quite remember, but it takes a little while because you have to send it. Once the fellow that comes out from the company, he goes ahead and he then takes that specimen to the lab, and it takes a little while to get that result.
And in your case, did you have a hot unit, so to speak?
No.
Oh, that's
did not
good.
have, except I did remove my bathroom tile. So yes, we had to have it come out along with, they removed the back drywall that is waterproof. There's a name for that and I don't recall it. So they removed the tile and the back drywall, which is the waterproof drywall. They removed both of that.
So you got to go through the right process and get it done properly. Again, it's not just a rule that is within United, it is
Federal.
State and federal.
The other thing I wanted to comment is a lot of times people like to just, let's say they want to upgrade their linoleum in their kitchen. Well, that's okay to do, but the problem is if you break that tile, the original tile, it's got the asbestos glue on the back. And once you break that tile, then you have a problem with the asbestos.
All right, so do things in the right order, the right way, because this isn't just about getting your alteration done. It is something that could turn out to be quite hazardous and needs to be disposed of correctly by certified people, so it doesn't harm anyone, right? Have you, Brett, do you have an estimate of maybe the percentage of the units that may have asbestos or lead, or is that kind of hard to determine?
It's hard to determine an actual percentage. We treat everything, as I said, as it's a hot until we know for sure that it's been tested by someone to actually verify that it doesn't contain it.
Okay. Al, let me ask you, even though you are in United, what about the other manors in Third? Where are they under the same provisions?
That is correct. Both United and Third go under the same provision for asbestos.
Okay, very good. Well, great information, and I think it's so important that you came on and talked about this, because, again, it goes beyond just maybe getting something done that you shouldn't have done. This is a real health issue, and a little extra time, maybe a little extra cost, but doing something the right way and doing it safely is the most important thing, right?
Sure is.
All right, good to see you, Janie.
Thank you.
And Brett, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, good to see you. We'll be right back.